We wanted to get together to have this informative meeting because quite frankly, the ball keeps on moving on this bridge. Go back when they originally closed it, they said we hope to have it open the first quarter of this year, which we're halfway through. And, but they discovered more and more that there was more and more problems with the bridge. To the point where we've been working heavily with the state of Michigan. We've been working with the county, huge. Thankfully, county executive, state representative Miller, state senator Cavallari, the speaker of the house. In all these discussions, we all want to get certain things done, but we've all come to agree on three basic principles. One is the bridge has got to be replaced and be repaired. It's a 100-year bridge. Repair, you're just pushing it down the road, you can be doing it again and again and again. Number two, it's got to be done fast. This is a major bridge, a lot of people involved on it. Everybody wanted to get it done fast. And number three, everybody agrees it's going to be funded. The state of Michigan, we believe this, Reggie Miller, we're going to get $7 million as early as this year, possibly even June. But a worst case scenario is that it goes through the county's bridge program, which I believe is hopefully 3 years, 4 years, worst case. All right. But we don't want that because again, that's time. And we all agree we've got to get this thing done now. So I'm going to go through and do the preliminaries that have got to be done in every political function because I have to announce my board because my board I work for and I need their help. I have Trustee Boynton over here. Our newest trustee, Trustee Kelly. Treasurer Bud. Am I missing somebody that's in here?
Trustee Martin in the back.
Trustee Martin in the back, thank you. I have a Representative Miller who's secured the money, good God, thank you. I think Representative Cavallari has a representative here.
Yeah, that's me. Sorry.
There you are, okay, all right. Senator Cavallari, I'm sorry, who is up at the House. And then I have Debbie Dingle, Haley Brown, representing Debbie Dingle. All these people have actually come together to help get this thing done. It's becoming that large. Joe Tate is the Speaker of the House. He was coming. I just got a phone call, called Reggie Miller, but happily, he's not going to make it because.
He's talking and finishing up session tonight.
Yeah, there's a session that's going on. That's the best. The good side is that he said, we're committed, we're going to get it, we're going to get the money, we are committed to get this done. And he told, yeah, so as far as I'm concerned, that's just, you can just as many meetings as you want. So, we have our Commissioner Al Heides. Al, I'd like you to come up. Well, there you are, okay. Commissioner Heides, because quite frankly, it's under his bridge purview.
Good evening, everyone. You know, it's not the first rodeo for me because as many of you remember, Waltz Bridge in Huron Township, we went through a very similar situation where the bridge was the gate to the downtown New Boston, affected a lot of businesses. So the supervisor and the trustee and the county understand and realize the importance of fixing the bridge as soon as possible. But there's certain things we have to go through to make sure we do it the right way, well designed and well studied. And I think the county showed the supervisor in the last meeting as we willing to work together as a team. And then for the icing on the cake, Representative Miller help us to speed up the process by having some money available through the state of Michigan. That resolved a big problem because that was issue in the beginning, and now we have that money coming from the state. So now we could proceed to design, do the design and engineering, and hopefully we all agree we want something that fit the image of the lake to be recreational and bridge to have the traffic going in and out to downtown Belleville and then. So hopefully working together that will speed the process. We need a little patience from the residents I know how difficult when you have to change the pattern of your traffic and you have to drive a little bit longer. But it's the nature of the business. Bridges get old and roads get old, and we need to keep at it and try to do it in a professional way and timely manner. Thank you for being here today. We have the hardworking team from Wayne County under the leadership of Andy Cadrivas, the director of the DPS, the Department of Public Service, and one of the engineers, Sam Khaled, and we have Scott. They're all here to answer some technical questions, and hopefully we could give you some answer that satisfy the people. We need a little bit of patience, and I assure you, but like Mr. McNamara said, it will be there. Thank you.
So introduce them. So we've got the Senate, we've got the representatives, we've got the U.S. Congress, we've got. I didn't mention Warren Evans, but County Executive Warren Evans, I did call him yesterday. There's a lot of things here that are not going to get done unless he signs off on them. And we went through in detail, a lot of detail on this whole thing. There's going to be a lot of details in any agreement that we do to get this bridge moving faster than they normally go. But he's 100% behind it. He's with us on those three main things. It's going to get funded. It's got to be replaced, and it's got to be done fast. So I'm going to start off with Andrew. And actually, we'll start with you, right?
Yes.
Okay, our Director of Municipal Services, Ron Akers.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ron Akers. I'm the Municipal Services Director of the Township. I want to just real quickly jump into the purpose of this meeting, which is we want to make sure we're providing an update about the closure of the bridge and how we plan to move forward. We want to provide an update regarding the bridge closure's impact on certain township public safety operations and how we're addressing those items. We want to make sure we're giving an update on the timeline and what we're hoping to achieve to address some frequently asked questions that I know as staff we've received from our residents. And then lastly, we want to make sure we have a Q&A so we're getting our residents' questions answered by the representatives who are here tonight. As has been indicated, we have several representatives from the township and Wayne County present to discuss the bridge. At this time, I would like to introduce the Wayne County Director of Public Services, Andrew Cadrivas, to give an update for Wayne County.
Does it work if I sit here? Is that all right?
It should, yeah.
Microphone's right. Just make sure, yeah. Let me know.
Better. All right. Thank you, everyone. I'm Andrew Cadrivas, has been stated, and I'll go through real quick. No offense to anybody who spoke already, but Sammy Caldy here is our chief engineer for Wayne County. Not just, we have many hardworking engineers in the county. He is the leader of them all, and in Wayne County Department of Public Services, engineering is one of the division, so he's head of the division of engineering. And then I also have with me, I think Cadrivas is a tough name. This is Scott Cavalatin, and he's the deputy director who oversees not only Sammy's engineering division, but also the roads maintenance division as well. So he'll be here to answer any questions. I want to thank Van Buren Township for hosting this. You guys have a great facility here. And I feel like I'm at like National Signing Day or something with all these microphones. Sammy was just commenting, we wish we could get some of the setup that you guys have here for some of our meetings. So thank you for hosting, and obviously thank you to all the people. I know this is being filmed so that people at home can watch it and we can disseminate as much good information as possible. Thank you for being here, and we look forward to your questions at the end of this for question and answer. Some familiar faces, I know that some of you were at the Belleville Council meeting. And so thanks for coming. And with that, I do want to correct one thing that you said, Mr. Supervisor. You said it can't be repaired. And truthfully, we say it can't be repaired because it doesn't make sense to repair it. But the type of problems we said at the Belleville meeting, I explained a little bit about the type of issues that are there with the pilings, as you'll see the in the slideshow that will be shown. You don't have to look for it now, but we could undergo a process to fix what's currently there, which is a very old structure, and we don't know exactly how much that would cost. But we figured it might cost up to half of the cost of a replacement bridge. And it wouldn't fix all of the ancient islands in the earth. It would only address the ones we currently know are a problem. We could do all that, spend millions of dollars and still close this bridge for quite a long time to get all that in place. Then say, oh, it's open, we made these corrections, we made these things, and then you still have an old bridge, which in the next inspection that we do might show the same problem on the opposite side, on the other one. So we said early on, that's not an option. We're not gonna throw good money after bad on this really old structure. And we're not gonna put this community through a shutdown now without, guaranteeing to them that you will have a top of the line brand new bridge when we reopen. So you are right, it's not gonna be repaired, it is gonna be replaced. But I just wanted to clarify that as something that we can talk in the development. What the supervisor has been talking about, the fast aspect of this bridge, that's been the focus, and I really want to thank our state partners and State Representative Miller, as well as Senator Camilleri. Having a funding source, an appropriation in the state budget is far and away higher and speedier than most anything we get when it comes to funding our bridges or any infrastructure. The first step of the process will be to design the new bridge. Then there's that step of funding the new bridge with the numbers you get from that design work. And then there's the construction of the bridge. Funding is a real problem that a lot of people tend not to think about because it's not, shovels in the earth issues. It's not engineers looking at things issues. It is working and kind of pulling your hair out to try to figure out what federal funds are available. Which grant can we go to? If this bridge costs $7 million, where do we pull that out of? What year's budget does that fit into? So the ability for us on this project to have a source from the state to produce this will definitely create a much faster process. And you should know that what your township is also doing is working with us to try to cut out and speed up the process by taking on a more active role in the project itself. And so those things, they might take different avenues, but those things will definitely work to speed up the process. With that, I will not commit malpractice as I'm not an engineer, but I will pick it over to Mr. Caldi, kind of explain a little bit about what the bridge is and the shape that it's in, and maybe why it was closed. And then he's 27 years in the department, is that right? So he has 27 years of experience of these types of projects. So I want you to hear from him on what his expectations would be on how this would all progress to the point where we do have a new bridge and we're able to open it up to traffic.
Andy, and good evening, everybody. We're happy to be here and maybe at the end of 10 minutes. But just give you an idea about this bridge. This bridge was built in 1920, almost 100 years old. It was built through these two apartments and the piers. So what's happened over the years, it sits in wood piles. And we are our inspection program for typical bridge is every 2 years. So obviously, and during normal inspection, we find some stuff and we just fix it. In 2018, we had requested to do an underwater inspection. And that's required every 60 months or every 5 years. In 2018, unfortunately, the way we hired the consultant to do it because it's a specialty. There's not too many consultants they do underwater inspection in the state. There's only a few homes. So they were awarded the contract sometime late in 2018, and they could not do the diving because of the water conditions and everything. So they had to do the kind of the sonic inspection, and inspection report came back that it says the conditions of the bridge are fine. But we did also in 2022, last September, we did an actual underwater inspection. And the report came back that these firewoods where the foundation sits on them, they're not connected anymore. So the recommendations of the structural engineers, bridge structural engineers, impacts that this bridge is in critical shape. And it's unsafe to keep it open to traffic. So the recommendation was is to close this bridge. We asked questions, is this really the final answer? They said, yeah, the east abutment is the worst case scenario. And we don't really guarantee because these piles are really in bad shape. They're almost 100-year old and they probably will not be able, to sustain any extra load. And at the same time, in November, we did a regular inspection. Obviously, we found out from the regular inspection, there is some section loss in the beams, and that add to the problem too. So right now, the minute we knew about it, we worked with the township leadership here, and we made this bridge as a priority. We understand how important that bridge is for the community. Obviously, the first thing we asked, is it possible to repair the bridge? The answer came back, yes, but it will cost at least $3 million just to fix the problem we have. And there will be also other challenges going through the permitting process with Eagle because we need to be in the water. And then you have to find really a contract that can do the work. The unfortunate thing when you're working underneath the pier, you want to have any sheet filings. You don't have the clearance between the water and the bottom of the piece. So that's going to be very challenging to do even the fixes for that. And it's not like the Cross Seas Bridge where you have a lot of clearance, you could have a barge and you have all kinds of equipment. With this one, we don't have that. So that's one thing. Second thing is even to do the coffer dam and driving the sheet down, it might cause vibration and undermine all these piles too. That's another issue. So we're trying to fix something, you might damage the pier more. So I think that the wise decision is if we do that, it will cost money and there is no guarantee how long it's going to take either. Yeah, I mean, between permitting and trying to get the job done and trying to, when you work on sensitive files like this, the contractor is going to ask for a lot of money. So I think we came to the conclusion working with a structural engineer, this company is, what we said, how much will cost to replace the bridge? Because it looks like it's time for it. Usually when we design a bridge, we design it for 75 years. And this is almost beyond the life cycle, 75 years. So right now we thought, yeah, we can design it and we replace it the same footprint, but the township had some thing they want to add to the bridge to accommodate their citizens. And basically they want to connect both parts of the city and the township. And they need a bike path or they want a shared path, which is minimum 10 feet. That's something we want to add to the project. And obviously that will cause us to widen the bridge and to widen the fill in the lake. Where Eagle, they had certain requirements to do that. And we supplied this requirement. We met with Eagle. They look at the project. I mean, we put this project really on fast track. And they give us what we need to do and what's required from us. So we get that part done. We shared that information with the township. And obviously also there was another request from the township. They want to increase the clearance for the bridge too to allow more boats to go underneath the bridge. And then another item they asked for is to put lights on the bridge also, and a different type of looking bridge to blend in with the bridge over Beverly Lake. So this is going to add to the time of the design, obviously, and we're estimating the design, it might take at least 1 year to 2 years going through the permitting process and to cover all these details. And obviously after that, we're estimating the bridge is going to cover all these improvements, it's gonna probably reach about $2 million. And if we secure the fund, then we can move with the design process, soon, and we can go through the construction process after what the design is complete. That's all.
Sam, let me jump in. I hate getting bogged down in alphabet soup. When he says EGO, that is the State Department of Energy, Great Lakes and the Environment. And they run all the permits. Whenever you're doing the work in a waterway, amongst other things, then EGLE permitting is necessary for anything that we do or any private citizen would do or anybody else. He says EGLE, that's kind of our shorthand.
Thank you, Director Grant. Thank you, Director Kandrivas and Director Caldy. At this time, I'd like to introduce Lieutenant Buckberry of the Van Buren Township Police Department to discuss the bridge closures' impact on police department operations.
Well, good evening. My name is Lieutenant Mark Buckberry. I'm a patrol lieutenant for the Van Buren Township Police Department. I can tell you that we've always had challenges geographically with Van Buren Township. We have four thoroughfares, get from what we call north of 94 to the south and south of 94. I can tell you and assure you that with the closure of Denton Road Bridge, when we look at the services in that area, whether it's North Shore, Beckley, Denton, Stanley, Van Allen, our call volume is low. Now, when we talk about our emergency call volume, we understand that we cannot obviously approach those areas from Denton Road, but we can still utilize Clerk Road to avoid that 94 North Service or South Service Drive and Bellevue Road corridor, allow for quicker response. But for the past several months that the bridge has been closed, we have not had any significant challenges as far as our response goes.
The time difference between across the bridge as the ambulance for emergency response and go around. What's the time difference? 20 minutes, 11 minutes?
I have to speak for the police department.
Yes.
And again, understand that we dedicate 2 patrol cars south of I-94. We dedicate 2 patrol cars north of I-94. Depending what our call volume is, we will make adjustments accordingly. Really, our only challenge from responding, and again, it's going to be predicated on where that car is at the time the call comes in. When we look at Harbor Club or what now is in Waverly, we have a large call volume in that complex, but that's 500 plus individual apartments. But when we look at the other residential homes in there, if we took the apartment complex out of it, our call volume is very, very, very low. But because of the apartment complex, I can assure you that our officers spend a lot of time west of Belleville Road on the South Service Drive, in between Rossville. So we pretty much always, for the most part, will always have a car in that area. If for some reason they happen to be in the city of Belleville, which the closure of that road would cause, we've made the adjustments in emergency situations to utilize Clerk Road to avoid the South Service Drive in Belleville. Because again, depending on what time of day it is, we know it could take 20 minutes just to get through the light there. But utilizing Clerk Road in emergency situations, it's probably going to add some time to the response time, but we're probably talking about 1 to 3 minutes.
Supervisor, how many ambulances the township have?
Actually, we have a fire chief that's gonna come up and speak about emergency, about that aspect.
Okay.
Police basically. So we analyzed the public safety aspect of it, and obviously the police actually already are able to take care of this, so they have very limited changes in the response time for that area. Police are good. Fire, probably next, and that's not so good, but we're working on it.
Thank you, Lieutenant Buckberry. At this time, I would like to introduce the Van Buren Township Fire Chief, David McInerney, to discuss fire and emergency medical operations.
To answer your question, we utilize Huron Valley Ambulance Service is a private company that puts ambulances in our area as well as other areas to respond. We do respond to medicals with the ambulances, but they're the ones that transports, they're the paramedics, so they have advanced life support. I can say that ironically, as I was sitting here for this meeting tonight, a call in that specific area did come in, and it did exactly what I thought it would when we checked response times. The South Station, which is at Sumter Hall, is the closest station to that immediate area. It adds about 3 to 4 minutes for response time for the South engine to be able to get to that call. So what we've done since the bridge closed probably about a month and a half ago, I think it was, we added responding to unit from the other station as well. That's so at least one of them is going to get there within the quickest amount and safest amount of time possible. They actually did exactly what typically happens in that area because they have to come off South Service to Quirk. They both met at South Service Drive in Quirk Road. One took Beckley, which is not always the most well-maintained road. It just is what it is. It's a dirt road. So it's very hard to drive down the road. One engine went down the Denton Road from the South Service Drive, ended up getting canceled. The other one got there. Basically 8 minutes coming from the South Station at 5 p.m. I mean, all the worst possible case scenarios probably happened today, and that's just how long it took for it to get there. As far as fires in that area, that's going to take the same amount of time for the engines to get there. The apartment complex, we have auto aid with Ypsilanti Township. So anytime there's a confirmed fire, they're automatically sending us to engines as well. We still get there before they do, but the fire side of it is what it is. It's the medical side of it. The dual response with both engines is specifically to try to accommodate when we don't have an ambulance within the township, which does happen fairly regularly where there's not always one there. So if there's not an ambulance, it's between Rawsonville and Haggerty Road somewhere in the township, both engines are going. If the ambulance is within the township, then we're sending just that one engine. So we're trying to still provide the best service possible and also limit our having 2 big engines through multiple heavy lanes of traffic when you get there. So that's about the best that we can come up with at this point for the foreseeable future until we can fix it. The stations were designed and built and located based on all the roads that we had with all the bridges and everything open. Obviously that changes, so we have to accommodate the best we can. Any other questions?
Bring to your attention, Mr. Davis, he mentioned one of the dirt road that's been used. Maybe we could increase the schedule and grade that road to keep it in good shape for the ambulance to drive on. One of the things.
It's not dirt, it's a gravel road, except you never put any gravel down. That's why it's a mess. You gotta grade it and you gotta put gravel fill on it. And who's responsible for that? I'm just curious.
Sorry about that. So actually, the next item I was going to highlight was some of our public services update, and it was with regards to Beckley Road. So I do know our public services director, Larry Lockett, has actually spoken with Wayne County Roads about the condition of Beckley Road and the anticipated increase in traffic. And we have requested that Beckley Road be graded and maintained more frequently just because of the anticipated increase in traffic.
We'll lose that better.
Please add Denton Road to your list of no maintenance. It's riddled with potholes. It hasn't been fixed for years. It's a total mess.
So just to repeat what I had said before, our public services director, Larry Luckett, has actually reached out to Wayne County Roads about the condition of Beckley Road. And because of the anticipated increase in traffic, we've requested some additional gradings and some additional maintenance of that road. And as you mentioned, Denton Road, we will make a notation of that as well.
No.
So,
This would I'll step up with. Because the director already told me. Hopefully, they're going to try and get some money to the Denton Road area that's in front of the condos this summer with their major maintenance plan. And that's the only kind of money they can move over to it. And hopefully they're going to see if they can mill and bill if they don't like to mill concrete out.
So I wanted to highlight some items regarding the timeline, because I know last week the township met with some state and county representatives to discuss how we can reduce the timeline of construction. And we're looking at coming up with some ideas that may allow us to reduce it. I do want to preface the discussion by saying that everyone has been in the very preliminary stages of evaluating this bridge. There are several other items which need to be further explored, which could, of course, impact the timeline moving forward. Some of them can include utility coordination, environmental permitting. I know we did get some preliminary comments from Eagle. There could be some other federal agencies involved. And then some other items which may impact the timeline is the State Historic Preservation Office has to do a review of the bridge. And then there's also potential for some seasonal restrictions as well. The township has had discussions with the county, and we actually at the most recent township board meeting on Tuesday approved sending a letter of intent to Wayne County to enter an agreement to allow us to actually use our township engineers to complete the preliminary engineering and permitting for the Denton Road Bridge. We believe that this can save time, as townships already have our engineers under contract, and we can begin the process more quickly. Our goal is to get our engineers started as quickly as possible, and our stated goal is to complete engineering around 1 year. What we have here on the slide is a goal for what our timelines could be, utilizing our township engineering services. I know we had discussed the timeline for the bridge at 3 to 4 years. Our goal, as we're moving forward right now and coming up with some plans to reduce time, our goal is to reduce that to 2 to 2.5 years. What I wanted to highlight was from frequently asked questions that I know we've received often, and some questions that we've heard from the public. Of course, they've asked why the bridge closed. It was, as Director Caldy had mentioned, it was due to the deterioration of the timber piles on the east abutment. One of our communication staff, Mike Jablowitz, actually put together a little animation which kind of gives a general idea what the challenges are. These are the different terms of the bridge. As you can see, the east abutment over on this end. It's very general and a little dramatic, but it shows that there has been separation. So it's just an idea of the diagram. One of the other common questions that we've been asked is it safe to travel under the bridge by boat? The answer is that we have been advised that it is safe to travel under the bridge by boat. However, boaters are advised that you have to take normal precautionary measurements and safety rules, which should always be considered when crossing under any bridge. Will the height of the bridge be raised? Again, that's something that we're going to be looking into to see if that's an option. I know in our Eagle preliminary comments, they actually did recommend raising the height of the bridge by a few inches. Will there be sidewalks on the new bridge? That is something that we are absolutely looking at. The bridge is part of the planned route of the Iron Belt Trail. So we're going to be looking at doing at a minimum the 6-foot sidewalk on the north side of the bridge. And as Director Caldy had indicated that they had addressed whether or not the bridge could be fixed.
Hey, Ron.
So, yes.
Can I jump before your questions? Go for it. I just want to, one of the things that came up from the crowd already, and it's a frequent concern is the condition, some of the other conditions of the roads, and I know we're in Van Buren, but on the Belleville side, some other things. And it was something that was addressed, spoke about at the Belleville City Council meeting when we appeared there. And specifically, there are a few things, and as was noted, the affected road, the dirt road, which should be gravel. The gentleman points out to me, we had a similar situation where a bridge was out up in Kent this year at Cherry Hill Road. We had to rebuild that. And a major concern of the local businesses and residents were the detour was another unpaved road. And they said, you guys, we have this unpaved road that is in bad shape. Normally, now you're shoving a bunch of traffic on this unpaved road. And we said, look, we are going to pay special attention to it, get out there more frequently and inspect it, not just on our regular times when we're supposed to go out there, but we are really going to pay attention to this because of the bridge outage that they had. And that's the same pledge that we're giving in this case. We're going to spend a lot more time and materials and effort on the unpaved roads in this area. They're going to get a lot more traffic because of the closure of this bridge. And there are constraints with weather and seasons. We've already started discussing and trying to address some of that. I expect it to look a lot better as the season changes, and we will be doing the proper maintenance on it much more frequently than even we would set up. So, I mean, that is the pledge that we're going to be out there now. It's not going to stop all the complaints, and it's going to be perfect. It's not going to be perfect, but we know it's a problem. We know that a lot of traffic on these unpaved roads causes a lot more problems. We're going to get that attention. The other thing that came up more on the Belleville side, but was the possibility of a turn signal. They were very interested in having a turn signal southbound. Our engineers have looked at that. We expect to sit down with the city just to make sure everybody's on the same page of what it means. As one of the city council members pointed out when that was discussed, it does mean that that cycle lasts a little longer and it takes a little bit longer to get through that intersection. But we just want everybody on the same page, and we're going to do what we can and listen to the community and try to make the changes that the community wants us to change, try to offset what everybody's going through on this closure. The other issue, of course, is with signage. We have gone out at various times and changed some of the signage out there. The early signage that was out there was inadequate. We beefed it up, we changed it. There are some people that want a whole lot of signs, and then there's other people, especially some engineers, that say, well, you have to properly place the kind of sign in the right spot, or else people just don't even pay attention. So we are trying to get the word out more that don't go down into Belleville if you're looking to just get around. Use seat alternate routes, trying to tell motorists earlier. So we are also looking at that. And Scott Gavlon, who's my deputy here, works very closely with our road maintenance and will continue through the season coming up in the spring and the summer and for the entirety of the closure to keep drilling that into our local road maintenance crews that work in our community to do that. So, and that is our pledge. We're focused on that. And you're all going to tell Al Haddis when we're not doing a good job, and Al Haddis is not going to leave me alone about it because he does talk to me a lot about issues. So I did want to mention that before we get into any further on that. But the roads, the detour route, and all the roads that are going to be impacted, we know there's going to be a negative impact to all the other roads. We're not blind to that, and we will focus on that, not just with our engineering group this year, but our road maintenance.
Thank you very much. At this time, we're going to open up the meeting for audience questions. I do want to highlight that in addition to our county and township representatives, we have our representatives from Fishback Engineering here as well, who are the township's engineering consultants. So the way audience questions is going to work, everybody just raises their hand. I'll walk the microphone over to you and we'll make sure we get everybody's comments and questions addressed. So who? Start here.
Yeah, can you explain why pedestrians are not allowed on the bridge?
It's really for a safety reason. We don't want to allow people to cross just in case something happens and it's close to emergency and to fire and police. So we feel it's totally unsafe.
But they can take a boat under it?
Yeah, I mean,
That's the issue that we're wrestling with, is that if it's not safe for me to walk across, because I live out there and the people from the apartments and everything, now because there's no vehicle traffic across the bridge, is a great time to get people to start using bicycles and go to town and stuff like that by foot. But yet it's safe enough for a boat to go under.
I'm going to fall back on, I'm not going to hear one of my attorneys to say that we should allow any.
And that's where it's at. That's really where it's at. The legal.
You get a ticket if you walk across the bridge.
Just do it. Well, that's not fair for these guys.
I don't have an answer to that. We can explore it as far as if you get a citation.
We're putting it on his shoulders. That's not fair.
I got a question.
Oh, behind you.
Lieutenant, if you raise your hand, I'm so sorry. I'm Brian.
No, I mean, we have not developed this house, so this is something new to us. Education, maybe citation. I feel it's we take it, so don't.
If you see him coming.
Yes, how do you stop the people from going across? Today on my way here, I saw somebody that was crossing the bridge. Are you gonna post somebody there, to stop them, and tell them, or what? And also, with the question of the boats, you feel it's unsafe for a car to go over. I get that, you don't wanna kill somebody underneath, but a pedestrian, I don't think he's gonna fall through, but who do I sue when that bridge comes down on a boater or somebody fishing underneath it? No, there's gonna be lots of them.
I guess the best response I can give to that is that we've been advised that going under the boating is safe, and I know they've discussed.
That's true. And I free to call the Coast Guard. I mean, I have no voting, expertise on it.
As far as a turn signal, left-hand turn signal, that's probably only needed during rush hour. If you install something like that, do you have the availability to just have that working during rush hour where I'm not sitting there waiting for it to cycle at 8 o'clock at night when no one's there?
And, I can't tell you that I know the answer, but it has not been laid out that we can control the timing on that. And I do want to point out that that would be a temporary measure for the closure only. That's not something that we can say now would be permanent later on, that there would be a turn signal there. But our engineers and, we're still looking at what that would mean on I don't know if they can do a certain time or not, but.
Who was the detail for the city on that? The city feels like, they need, like to flash after 8 PM or something like that. We could, the controller is able to do that when
Okay, with the closing of the bridge, as far as Hillside Cemetery is concerned, just a suggestion for the businesses, funeral homes and such, when we do have inclement weather, county road comes as far as the top of the hill with the grader salter, turns around and leaves, which leads that from there to the barricades full of snow, ice, or whatever. In the funeral homes, they play hell trying to get in there.
Yeah, I can see that, thinking about the job. We'll make sure that they pay attention to make sure, even with the road closed, now the bridge closed, they are allowing.
Push it all the way, push the snow all the way to the barricade.
Yeah, we'll talk to them about that for sure.
First of all, I want to thank the first responders for being here tonight. I think that's a major issue for a lot of us in the room is the speed at which you get to us. In the event of an emergency, has slowed down. So I'd like to request that you guys continue to evaluate that over time and be able to support that. My question is you showed the data, best case 2 to 2.5 years, worst case 3 to 4 years. We're 6 months in. When did that clock start on what you showed us tonight? 6 months ago?
No, I would say this, we began the process of selecting a design and moving that forward, just on our own. And that was begun immediately to start seeking that. Number one, to start getting answers from firms about, okay, can we fix it rather than replace it? So, I mean, that time, that clock started, Ron, I'm gonna go ahead and say that your clock started the minute you were told it was closed down. But we have started the process. We're not sitting around waiting for something magical to happen. But now as we have more discussions with the public and with the township and the city, there are needs, the community has. They don't want the same old bridge, perhaps. They want a new bridge. You could build the same old bridge, probably shave time and a lot of money off it, but yeah, but that doesn't allow you to have a decent sidewalk or any more clearance, or any features like that. So, that's kind of what we're looking at right now.
You mentioned that you're gonna raise the bridge. How high were you gonna raise it?
I can answer that. Yeah. We're gonna raise this. We've had requests for up to 40 inches. Ironically, Eagle, the state group, when they were asked about what they required, what was required for engineering on this bridge, without even being prompted, Eagle said, it needs to be raised. It's not good for the voting public. It's actually in a letter in here. But they're recommending 6 inches, so we're probably gonna look at some different varying heights on that. So Eagle already is recommending 6 inches and we've heard 40.
And Supervisor, if I can just point out again, what Sammy, I think, pointed out earlier was, the higher you do it, your engineering changes, and we do have permitting issues with making this wider and not using the same footprint. So there are a lot of variables still at play. There's no way anybody knows how high it's gonna end up.
Fix the 40, that's your parameter.
So Van Buren Township working directly with its engineering alongside them, because we don't have 50, 60 projects going on. We'll know quickly if it's gonna be 6 or 30 or 20, because our engineer is gonna be going, if you do that, you immediately added $500,000 to it. And so that's probably what we're gonna say time out. I really shouldn't be answering all these questions.
On raising that bridge 4 inches, it's not gonna do nothing for any of the voters. If you only got a rowboat, some of these pontoons out there that are $100,000 pontoons, they got arches on them. I had to lower mine, cost me $8,000 just to get under that bridge, to lower my pontoon boat. And I had to lower the foot, the radar arch, just to get under it. So putting it up 4 inches, ain't gonna do nothing for any of the boaters that have any kind of an arch on a ski boat, pontoon boat, or a bigger boat that's coming under. I said, unless you got a rowboat or a canoe, it ain't gonna do nothing. 4 inches. You guys got to at least raise that bridge up.
Like I said, it's gonna, we've got X amount of dollars. We're gonna build the nicest bridge we can and deal with it for 100 years. So.
My concern goes back to the pedestrians on the bridge while it's being closed. I know that there's a liability issue with probably the county, but why couldn't they have someone come out and inspect it every couple of weeks or so to make sure that no one has clipped through the chain link fence or the abutments on the side haven't fallen over so someone could fall into the water? But I mean, it's crazy because you've got high school children who are coming home from sports practice or classes, crossing that bridge to get home. And maybe there's not bus service. I'm not sure how the buses run, but there's a concern about people that want to cross that bridge. And to push people over into the self-service drive is so dangerous. I mean, we all know that there's been a couple of fatalities, just in the last couple of years on that road. And I really think that we need to consider something to do, that we need to do something about the fact that pedestrians should be allowed to cross the bridge. And I know that if there's an accident on that entranceway onto the bridge, that there would be a concern about police and ambulances getting to help somebody who might have fallen or gotten sick. But the bridge is only 15 feet wide or so, or 15 feet long. And there's a lot of room for an ambulance to get there and have their people retrieve the person or the whatever that's happened on the bridge for an emergency. So I don't think that there's a big problem. And I think it's a major issue with people that live out on North Shore Drive and out in the apartments and the condos.
I can talk to the townships. Engineers, but I understand the county's position. The lawyers are not going to second guess the engineers and say how much liability is liability.
But I will say this, I will pledge to look into that and double check with, with everybody involved and see if that's a possibility or not.
Yeah, maybe there's a weight situation. We're talking a couple.
You never know what's possible until Jason said so. I appreciate your point. I know that's a concern for pedestrians, so we'll look at that again and see if there's anything we can do. But generally speaking, when you close the bridge because it's deemed unsafe, you want to make sure it's, safe the safety is the first, responsibility. But let's look at this because it is a different situation.
Regarding the height of the bridge, there's another bridge right here called Belleville Road Bridge. And I don't know if there's any consideration, making those the same height.
Again, it's all about the cost.
Going 40 inches when the Belleville Road doesn't have that same clearance for that bridge, is adding a lot of cost that will only get them in that little bay area or west of there.
Understood. That's a consideration.
Solid logic. Thank you.
Just a question back to the traffic signal, left turn signal. Why is that temporary? Before the bridge was closed, people were running that light all the time to turn left, going northbound onto the Denton Road. And now you have a whole new shopping plaza that's opening up. It's gonna have a whole lot more traffic trying to get down Liberty. I mean, I think that left turn signal is gonna be critical permanently.
Yeah, I
Because
think-
of all the increased traffic.
No, it very well might be something that's warranted, but there's no way right now on an accurate traffic count of what the situation is going to be. And we can do a temporary signal because there won't be much electrical infrastructure changes that are needed. Our crews, our electrician and our engineers have informed us that that will not be the case when you have a light that needs to work for the bridge as well, that there would be some very serious upgrades that would be needed to the system. And we have a way of going through those and funding those throughout the county. It just would have to go through those normal steps.
I agree with them. We have a good point because the new economic development on that corner, and it's good development. And it will bring more people to those businesses. I think we need to monitor the situation, which we have to change needed to be done, working with the city and the township. Because I was really looking to that project, we go building up as a province, the area, the province to bring more people to look back. And we need to take that into consideration, that especially when they have an event, Strawberry Festival, event. So we need to really do some study on that corner. We might need to change the signal and the pattern of the traffic, we might not, but we need to do our homework.
I look forward to us being able to do a traffic study with that bridge being open and things reversing to a little bit of more normalcy, and then we will absolutely look at that.
I have a question about how long did it take the Belleville Bridge to get built?
Yeah.
Is there anybody around here that was,
Actually, there is somebody that's been around here. Didn't you build it? Is that the Fishback engineer that built it?
I designed it.
You designed it. How long ago?
In the late 80s or
How long did it take to build that bridge? You did the design and engineering?
designed the engineering, you know,
How long did that take to do design and engineering for that bridge?
like a couple of years.
Okay.
So that was part of the four lanes.
We got the engineer that did the last bridge on that lake. Try and speed this one along.
when they first closed down the bridge, they said they had an estimate of $1.3 million. And it was gonna take the spring, until this spring to do that. All of a sudden, we're jumping from 1.3 to 3 mil to repair the east side of the bridge. If the east side of the bridge is repaired, all the engineering that's going on behind the scenes and getting all the material ready put to rebuild the new bridge can take place on the side. And somebody can actually use the bridge because it's been repaired. I
Okay.
don't understand.
Sir, you're talking about the Denton Road Bridge. You had heard somebody say that for $1.3 million.
That was the first quote that was in the newspaper.
Okay. Well, that didn't come out from my department. And that was never a reality of anything that we were looking at.
So if it costs 2 million,
If it costs,
you're gonna put, I am 4 houses from that bridge. And there's 16 houses within a quarter mile of that bridge there. There are 13 people who are senior citizens in that area out of the 16 houses. Who's gonna take responsibility from not getting an ambulance down there or rescue or whatever? That, if that bridge could be put back together and kept in place for 2 years while you guys are,
Actually, you'd still have to go through engineering to do the repair.
the engineering to replace the one footing that's 3 inches down is not gonna be the same for the bridge.
Is that water there?
Pardon?
How deep is that water there? I think that water's 35 feet.
No.
It's 35, it might be 35 on the big bridge, but it ain't 35 there. It's maybe 11 or 12.
Pretty sure. That was pretty shocked. 25?
The plans that we had showed that that 25, 27 feet.
And then you gotta go down, but what you really gotta do is you gotta do all of this for the state of Michigan to do anything in that water. And it's just amazing. I didn't realize how much, why it takes a year to get engineering done. So it's just gonna have to happen.
Okay, I have a comment that goes. There's a lot of activities that are being planned, and we saw some on the board here. Is there going to be any type of a dashboard or something that the citizens can review or look at to see progress? Rather than wait for a meeting that may or may not be attended or set up? Is there going to be an ongoing, how are we doing? Here are the objectives that we have to meet. These have been met, and this is now what the new forecast is.
I'm sure at the very least, the township would be willing to.
Sure.
Put up your milestones and updates from us on their website, if it's not on our website.
Quite frankly, we're having this among other things because we assume for the next 2 years, we're gonna be getting phone calls. And so we're gonna have a place to send them and say, okay, here's a lot of frequently asked questions, tell your neighbors there's a YouTube on it, go there, get your updates, if you still have more questions, we're here for you.
Regarding the trail, the Bell Trail. How was that trail going to get across the bridge before the bridge was closed?
There was a plan for every bit of that trail except for that section. Nobody knew how it was gonna get across it. The Ralph Wilson Fund hopes to give us $1 million to get across that causeway and on that bridge. And we have contacted the Ralph Wilson Fund and told them we can use $1 million now. So that might pay for the sidewalk along the bridge. Yeah, it's not that the bridge was gonna get a sidewalk. They wouldn't have built one without a sidewalk. It's the rest of that causeway that's gonna.
So this kind of a fortuitous thing for the Iron Bell Trail.
Lucky life. I don't want the bridge down though.
Good evening. Is any consideration being given to a external bridge over the top of the bridge? Like you'd see in a northern Michigan park, maybe something could be reused later. That could have handrails and span the bridge on timbers and allow for that pedestrian traffic that was talked about earlier. So it's about 100 feet across the bridge.
We're talking a separate structure.
Like going across and mounting that or securing that to land to a proper footing on both ends, beyond the pilings, and having a walkway, a gangway, if you will, that would have handrails. They even have cyclone fencing to keep, people inside of those restraints. And in northern Michigan, you see those walkways in the national forests that they're hundreds of feet long, actually.
And they're actually, mounted into, different terrain. The closer you get to the water, the higher they are from the ground. And something like that could probably be put up in a matter of a couple of weeks, and all that pedestrian traffic, just a suggestion that hasn't been heard yet. And reuse later, somewhere maybe along that same Iron Belt Trail, where you need that type of fortification for, keeping people away from traffic or something like that later.
That's something, I love that idea. We'll start looking too. All right, we'll look for you. We'll probably get it for you. I see, okay, so just so everybody knows, if we would even be talking about the 2-year timeline, it wasn't, or the 3-year timeline probably. It wasn't for the money that they got at the state of Michigan, Reggie Miller. And it's gonna go to the Senate. I just saw Senator Camilleri come in, so thank you very much for coming out, Senator Camilleri, thank you. Because without the money, we're waiting in a long line of bridges in the county that are closed and waiting for money. Their bridges have been closed for how many years? 3, 4 years, and haven't even gotten money yet.
There are not, lower priority, not as severe as the road that have not been funded yet.
And I love to hear you say that because everybody agrees that this is a major bridge, it is a high priority, it's going to get funded. So, which is important because Van Buren will have to put out the money until the money gets given to county. So the Board of Trustees has discussed it and agreed in principle to do that until such time we get an IGA, intergovernmental agreement. Godliness is in the details. There could be details in there that we don't like or that the county doesn't like. But we're all moving forward as fast as we can to get this done. And we are actually going to start spending money. Well, it's already started. So we're moving as quick as we can. Any other questions? I'm sorry.
I've got one question. We're talking about bridges and maintenance and all that. Now, this doesn't concern the Denton Bridge, but the Belleville Bridge. When is somebody gonna fix that drainage pipe under the bridge and people don't get wet? Is this a mountain problem or a city problem?
Can I just take a minute and can you explain that a little bit better? I haven't had the pleasure of being led by this bridge, but what is it?
Take on my boat and I'll show you.
Underneath for voters, is it a leaking pipe or is it one that's supposed to be designed to?
And you go under it and there's water coming. I don't know if it's drainage or if it's sewage. But per year, you have some water coming down. So
We look at what permits are attached to the Belleville Bridge and see what pipelines are.
Chris, I thought we should take care of that.
Yeah, I think someone did, it's not paying for it.
Trust me, it's a great mystery of Belleville Lake. Everybody's wondering what it is.
10 years.
Yeah. Everybody else got it.
Or questions or comments?
All right,
No one more.
So, the worst part of Beckley Road is the north end, right where it connects to the South Service Drive. I think part of that is probably because there's that apartment complex right there. Is it possible to pave like 50 feet of it so that that apartment complex traffic coming in and out would be on paved road instead of on dirt road?
I'm not gonna say if it's possible to pave it, or how long it would take to pave it, or what the schedule is for that, but I don't know if you came in a little later, but we are going to focus road maintenance, crews on making sure that it is not as bad as it has.
Yeah, so far it takes about 3 days for it to get really bad after maintenance.
I believe it in this weather. like Mark.
Rick got at the last meeting though. And yes, the grader was out there yesterday. Not one stone of gravel has been added. It's just potholes full of water. And it's a complete mess. It's an impassable road for most people.
The buses go down that road. The school buses.
Are there any other questions or comments for anybody?
well, I'm gonna do one disclaimer on this whole thing. We got one question back there. I'll give you the disclaimer while you go back to it. Well, we hope you said to get this thing done in 2 years. there are things in that bridge that we don't know. There is a pipe that runs along the side. We think it's just wires, telephone wires and stuff. It could be gas. Gas will add a long time to this. There could be something under that bridge that we don't know about. It's a 16-inch high pressure gas line. I'm told that that's a 2-year wait before they even approve the engineering. So we're going to do the best job we can. And I thank the county so much for letting us take this section over. And thank you.
Supervisor, let me just tag on to your.
I know.
I mean, Sammy here has a list of bridge projects.
Yeah.
And there are structures that you might not think are a bridge, that might look like a standard road, but is actually considered a bridge. Not any of them seem to be as beautiful as, Denton Road, Belleville Road area. That's clearly a bridge. There are a lot of other crossings that we have in Wayne County that are bridges, and they are incredibly delayed by a lot of things that you might not anticipate in the beginning. And a lot of it has to do with utility relocations and many other permitting and other aspects. And sometimes it's materials as well, as we found the last several years. So absolutely, there's a disclaimer. I would never tell you to throw 2 years out anyway, but it's good to have something to shoot for. And I think that we're all on the same page, and with our partners at the state and federally, we're all on the same page. So we will all keep working and give you updates as this goes along. Thank you.
I have nothing else to say. So, did you want to close anything? Oh, sorry.
This is again, back pedestrians that are having to cross the bridge, or your other alternative is to go to the South Service Drive. South Service Drive speed limit is way too high, in my opinion, because of people that are either walking or driving or turning into their houses or residence or apartments. So I think that would help safety wise, for people who have children who are out on that road.
What is the speed limit there?
Yeah, unfortunately, we do not, neither the township nor the county controls what the speed limit is that there's a process for that petitions can petition for. I don't know when that was set at 50, it was adjusted up or down recently. In many communities that have tried this, that we've seen, actually the speed limit will go up. I can't say it's going to go up from already 50, but there are other areas in the county where, locals were concerned about the traffic because of commercial traffic that's grown on a certain area or residential, and have applied to have that looked at, only to have the speed limit raised. But not necessarily going to happen in this case, but I will say it's not as easy as me having an engineer go out there and just change the speed limit. Michigan State Police controls that, and I'm sure that the Ron or someone could.
We wouldn't be able to get it low. If we got it lower, you could maybe get it to 45. You'd never get lower than that.
Well, still that big, like.
Yeah. I just dealt with those people so many times. No, you close it.
All right, hello. Sorry, I apologize. So I wanted to thank everybody for coming tonight. I also want to thank our county partners, state and federal partners for also joining us. We understand the inconvenience it's caused. We're sympathetic to concerns raised regarding the closure, and again, we're committed to working with our partners at the county and state to help move this forward as quickly as possible. Again, we appreciate everybody's patience, and we will do our best to share information as regularly as we're able. So thank you.